Hello, my name is Danny Merrill in Tucson, Arizona, United States of America, and my email is Danny, D-A-N-N-Y .marrow, M-A-R-R-O-W, @gmail.com. My Skype ID is Danny, D-A-N-N-Y .marrow, M-A-R-R-O-W, and my cell phone is 520-390-1393. I want to speak a little bit about Syria, Iran, and Russia. Someone Googled my email address and sent me an email. What did I think about Syria? And I couldn't answer because I couldn't get an email to answer. So I chose to answer this way. First of all, as of today, Syria has suffered the death of 40-some thousand, 50-some thousand men, women, and children by the dictator of that country, Assad. The interesting thing about this is that Russia has supplied Assad with MiG fighters, helicopters, heavy artillery, and other weapons. Iran has done the same thing. And Russia has supplied Iran with whatever type of equipment they need in the form of weapons, helicopters, MiGs, and also nuclear information, how to create nuclear weapons. So here you've got Iran sending weapons into Syria, Russia sending weapons into Syria, and the people of Syria are suffering. My big question is this: what will the United States of America, England, France, and Italy, and other friendly countries are going to do? Well, I can answer that for you. Nothing. Nothing. They've been saying for weeks and months, well, Assad of Syria is going to give up at any moment. It looks like he's going to get out. The only way these dictators get out of office is when they're dead. Period. The United States of America has stood by, and they got a big program going in America right now about weapons. Yet, recently we had a shooting in a town where 20-some people were killed, children, by a person who obviously had a mental problem, and he shot all these children from 5 years old up, and several teachers were killed and so forth. But the strange thing about it, they're raising anti-gun people are blaming guns and gun collectors and gun owners for this carnage. But not one of these anti-gun people have complained about the 50,000 men, women, and children that have been murdered in the streets of Syria by weaponry supplied by Russia. You anti-gun? What about Russia? Russia should be declared a terrorist state, as Iran should be declared a terrorist state. These two countries have supplied weapons for most of the warfare that's going on in the Middle East and Africa. They're the ones that are selling it. But this Namdi-Pamdi administration, under the leadership of the blind, deaf, and dumb President Barack Hussein Obama, has done nothing to help the people of Syria. Remember when Georgia was invaded by the Russians, and because they didn't want the Patriot weapon system put up to protect the Georgians. Well, when that happened, you saw the picture of the Russians riding in on their tank, and they're very macho with their guns up in the air, and happy and bravo and all that. Well, why not? They took a small country and bullied it. And before, that country used to be a member of the Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union, the Russians, have always gone after the former satellite countries that were in the Russian Federation before. And I called the Georgian embassy in the United States, and I spoke to, I believe it was the secretary, somebody there, and I said, listen, I am an American, and if you think the European Common Market and the United States of America are going to help you, you're wrong. The United States of America and the European Common Market are going to do nothing. They're going to let your people die if necessary. They're going to do nothing. All they know to do is placate that system of Russia, which is nothing more than a dictator today and nothing more but a weapons supplier to all the war spots in Middle East and Africa and other countries. They supply weapons to Cuba. They supply weapons to Venezuela. They've got Russians training in Venezuela along with Iranians. And don't kid yourself. The United States of America is going to do nothing. This present administration is going to do nothing but talk, 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 talk with no substance. And Hillary Clinton, I put up two audio videos concerning Libya with a picture of the ambassador who was murdered, and Barack Hussein Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Susan Baker, they were just as guilty, and the Vice President Biden, as if they pulled the trigger. But you see, nobody wants to listen. Nobody wants to listen. If it had not been for the citizens of the United States of America that rose up when the British were trying to impose a tax on the colonists, and they used guns, by the way, to impose, not to accept that imposition, and that's how we started as a country. In July the 4th, 1776, the United States of America was born. But I'm going to tell you something. November the 6th, 2008, America died when Barack Hussein Obama was put into the office of the presidency of the United States of America. And even that is controversial. I personally believe he's a liar. I personally believe he's not a U.S. citizen. I personally believe that he came from Indonesia, from Kenya to Indonesia, and I believe he went to Britain and then came to the United States, but we don't know what passport he came with. So not only does this present administration want to help people in Syria who are being murdered by the hundreds and the thousands, men, women, and children, he didn't even want to help his own ambassador in Libya when the place was being stormed for about 8 hours before the ambassador was finally brutally murdered. Not only that, here's a man that stole the presidency of the United States of America with counterfeit and false documents. How can you believe anything this liar says? In reference to Syria, the lady who sent me that email, you can write down on a piece of paper, the United States of America will do nothing in Syria. The United States of America will do nothing in Syria. Neither will Great Britain, neither will France, and neither will Italy. And now they're all excited that the Algerian government went in and killed all 32 members of the Taliban that had gone in and captured this this oil facility there in Algeria. Yes, there were some Americans killed, I believe, and 22 hostages or something of that nature was killed. However, what did the United States do? Basically, nothing. They say they supplied them with an intelligence. How can an unintelligent administration and an unintelligent president and vice president supply you anything concerning intelligence? I'm telling you, this present man who claims to be president of the United States is the sorriest individual that sat in the White House since this country was founded in 1776. So to the lady who sent me that email asking what about Syria, I hope this answers your question, ma'am, because I don't know where you're calling from, I don't know where you sent the email from, and I don't know what country you're from. Frankly, I don't care. But if you're in a country and you think the United States is going to do something to help the people that are being murdered, men, women, and children in the streets of Syria, forget it. They're not going to do a thing. They're not going to do a thing. Yes, it was a tragic incident when this man who was mentally deranged and took legal weapons that his mother owned and went to that school and killed all those children. But I want to ask you something. What he did, was that worse than 50,000 men, women, and children murdered in the streets of Syria like cattle for the slaughter? I'm telling you, the idea and the thinking of the present administration in the White House in Washington, D.C. is stupid, not intelligent. Listen to this. In the incident in Algeria, we had special forces people on alert. In Germany, the same thing they said when the embassy was attacked in Libya. Well, we got special forces people on alert in Germany. Well, I'm not the smartest or sharpest knife in the drawer, but it would seem more logical to me that those forces needed to be on alert in a most closer destination than Germany, or in the Pacific, in Honolulu, or Hawaii, or in New York City. They should have been there within striking distance of a few minutes, not several hours. That's what we've come to as a country in America. We're no longer prepared for war than we are prepared economically. The nation of America is $16, $17 trillion in debt. Calculate, get a calculator and calculate how long it would take to pay that debt off. This country cannot and will not survive with that kind of economic pressure. And this country, cutting back on the military in the United States government, in the military, they're thinking of cutting back all the terrorist states in the world. Russia, Iran, North Korea, Syria, Venezuela. They're clapping their hands. Oh, that's wonderful. The United States is cutting down their military. Now we've got a chance to do in the United States of America what we've been doing in Israel for 50 years, what we've been doing in Syria, what we've been doing in Iran, what we've been doing in North Korea, and on and on and on the story goes. Fortunately, I probably won't live to see what is going to happen in the United States of America. But you will. You're going to see it. You will live to see the collapse of the United States of America. I'll tell you, I'm not a prophet, but based on history, that's where we're going. Our morality has gone down to the gutter. Our military is being cut. Our politicians in the administration right now, Barack Hussein Obama, Hillary Clinton, Vice President Biden, all of these people have lied and lied and lied more than one time. And those lies are going to come back to bite them in the butt. I won't live to see it, but you may very well live to see it. I'm telling you, the situation is serious. So if you're in Syria, and you're in Iraq, and you're in Libya, and you're in Afghanistan, those days of the United States coming like the cavalry to rescue you are not going to work. 10 years fighting a war in Afghanistan. And the day that we leave there, the Taliban and the other terrorist organizations are going to move in. They're going to do the same thing in Iraq. They're going to do the same thing in Libya. They're going to do the same thing in all of these countries. And I'll tell you right now, as an American citizen, I would not advise one more American to go over in those countries and fight. Period. Period. They're going to be taken over again in Afghanistan by the Taliban, in Libya by the Taliban, in Syria by the Taliban, and in all of these countries. All of them. And the United States administration is going to sit by and do nothing. Tell me what they've done in the first 4 years of Barack Hussein Obama, and what they're going to do in this next 4 years. They're going to do the same thing they did in their first 4 years. Nothing. Borrowing money and spending it like it can be printed off the press if they need money. It doesn't work that way. So I don't know if this answers your question, dear lady, whoever you are that Googled and sent me that email about what I thought about Syria. I think you got the message. Also, in conclusion, let me say this. The United States of America has got the best medical system in the world before Barack Obama came to power. We could send medicine to those poor children suffering from gunshot, being bombed, and the adults that were wounded and by fighter planes flying overhead, helicopters shooting them down in the streets, snipers shooting down the streets. As far as I know, this administration didn't send a Band-Aid. Not one Band-Aid. Thank you for listening.